I have, as I've stated earlier in past podcasts, I am a psychological manipulation expert. And so I have always been under the assumption that if you are a psychological manipulation expert, which, our investigative agents are, they're mind hacker experts, that you can see through all the emotional distraction and see straight through the money deals and money fraud schemes that are being hidden. But as we're getting closer and closer to an impeachment acquittal that is just going to stomp all over the US Constitution, I'm starting to wonder if maybe I'm assuming a little bit too much. And so, at the risk of insulting your intelligence, I'm just going to go ahead and give you everything. Tax evasion investigations is still the small little loophole, the tiny little pebble, if you will, that brings down some of the most badass giants. It was the thing that brought down Al Capone, if you remember. His illustrious reign of terror and complications to a lot of people's lives. Tax evasion investigations is still a good thing to use here in the United States of America, especially whenever our country right now is being taken over by a bunch of morons, political reality TV stars, a lot of people just pretending to be government experts who are just screwing around with their US Treasury and helping themselves to it. They're using emotional distraction in order to hide their money schemes. And so if you are a psychological manipulation expert, you can actually see through all these emotional distractions and straight to the money schemes being hidden. The smallest, the weakest link, if you will, every dragon has its vulnerable spot. And so ours here is the IRS laws, where it says a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit, is not allowed. It is illegal to engage in any kind of biased political activity. However, we have a lot of nonprofits out there that are posing as educational and religious organizations that are doing exactly that, have chosen to attack Democratic leaders in order to cause people to have this idea of distrust against the government, have promoted their own politicians ahead of others, have engaged in these smear campaigns using beams and rallies and lectures, especially at the college level. You'll find a lot of these inside the clubs, inside colleges, and they're manipulating the students, telling them that certain groups are anti-Americans. If they're Democrats, they're anti-Americans. If they're liberals, they're anti-Americans. And under the IRS rules, it is illegal for a federal nonprofit 501c3 to engage in this kind of behavior. In fact, Turning Point USA even had a national wide tour of college campuses across the USA a month, October, right before the elections, in which they invited all the politicians on their side to come onto their stages and basically have their campaigns. That is illegal. Their donors are giving money to these organizations, and then the US taxpayers are then paying those donors back in those tax refunds. Giving them tax breaks so they don't have to pay the taxes, they don't have to pay their fair share. And what's really interesting is the ones that are doing this are the ones that are decrying socialism and claiming they want capitalism. And yet they're not participating in a capitalism system, in that they're not paying taxes. They assume that if they don't pay taxes, that they are socking it to the man, which is a lot of crap. Because if you are a business, you are required to pay taxes. If you are a business, you're not allowed to solicit any kind of donations from anybody. If you are a business, all of your revenue has to come from your sales and products. That's the name of the game. If you are a business, you are competing against all the other businesses. You don't get these tax handouts. You don't get these government handouts. You don't get free access to anything. Everything that you do, you have to pay for. So it's really interesting to see that all these people who are claiming to be pro-capitalism are not even using a capitalism system, are in fact using a socialist system. America is both socialist and capitalist at the same time. And so we have the federal nonprofit system, which was set up by the FDR as the what was it, the New Deal, uh, back whenever depression was going on and they were trying to pull the nation up by its bootstraps. And so he invented the system which would allow the government to help out the people, the makers, the artists, the workers, the doers, the ones that were going to be the people to pull the nation up by its bootstraps, the educators. However, today we have a system in which people were claiming to be educational and religious, and they are not following the rules of the IRS system, the code that says, the law that says You cannot engage in political activity, biased political activity with your federal nonprofit. Now, theater artists would get nailed with that. And if you remember the Hamilton that happened on Broadway, whenever they did a little speech because Vice President Pence was in the audience, oh my, the conservatives had a breakdown because how dare anybody use their stage for such a thing, which is actually projection blame shifting. The fact that that's exactly what they were doing. They were using their stages in order to put people against each other and put their politicians ahead of others. So we see a lot of that going on. With that, how in the world did these federal nonprofits even be allowed to exist? Well, let's go back to 2010 with the beginning of the Tea Party faction. And we see a former IRS attorney, Michele Bachmann. You know her, she's the loon of religion. Anyways, she is the former IRS attorney who engaged in a smear campaign and a gaslighting campaign with the rest of her cronies and got the IRS agent who was standing in her way kicked out. Now, if you notice, there's that same pattern being repeated with the GOP hearings with the FBI agents, gaslighting and smears. And then we also saw it with the New Deal, the Green New Deal, gaslighting and smears. And gaslighting is a purpose distortion of reality to make people question everything that they do. It is, for example, making everyone assume that the US government is nothing more than a political reality TV game show. That is gaslighting. And so we saw those patterns with the FBI agents getting kicked out. We saw the pattern with the Green Deal getting kicked out. You know, some guy who just puts on this ludicrous presentation that has nothing to do with anything and just is a mockery. That's gaslighting. And now we see it with the impeachment trial, where the Senate rules are actually illegal. They violate so many federal criminal laws, and yet they changed the timing of allowable timing that allowed people to make a rational decision, and instead is doing everything emotionally based. That's all gaslighting. We see it also with our president, who has a high functioning mental disorder called psychopathic narcissism. And that high functioning mental disorder does engage in gaslighting a lot because that person truly believes that they are a victim um, of everything, that they are a victim, and they will lie and distort reality so that they are. And at a national setting, whenever you have a leader who has that, it can be very dividing of the nation. It can cause people to start hating each other, and it is very bad for a country. So we have these patterns that are being set up where gaslighting, smears, and it's all the psychological manipulation patterns. There's a great website, and if you've been following me, I've been sharing it. I have no idea who the author is, but I'm so glad that she took 20 of the basic common manipulation tricks and just mapped them all out for you, gave you examples of what they look like, told you what the names are. It's 20 diversion tricks that psychopaths and narcissists, and it's amazing. But once you see the tricks, they stop working. And that's the thing with psychological warfare. Yes, it is insidious. Yes, it is effective. However, once you know the tricks, they stop working. Logic destroys all emotional chaos, and the brain will instantly grasp knowledge or logic wherever that is available. So once you know how the tricks work, they stop distorting your reality. They start having that mental consequence on your mind, and then you are free to see the money trails, the things that are being hidden. Now, we can look at the Trump family crime syndicate. We can look at Trump also being a fraudulent real estate investor. And an investor with a history of bankruptcy is a fraudulent real estate investor. What does a fraudulent investor look like? Well, here's the pattern. They gain controlling interest of a company using false promises of salvation. Which example? And that could be a marketing slogan such as MAGA. They they'll purposely drive that company into bankruptcy so they don't look like they're doing anything, but they will do things that will cause that country or company to be bankrupt, such as using our US Treasury in order to pay for his resorts and his stays and his own companies where he's staying at, basically funneling money out of our US Treasury into his businesses. and then claiming he's not taking a salary. Well, no, he's helping himself to the US Treasury. He's treating it like his own personal company vault. And his family is doing that as well. We can look at who Kushner is. Kushner is he's also a fraudulent real estate investor. If you look right before Trump became president, he actually had a lot of financial problems that had a broker bail him out of. He was involved in the Anbang scandal, which later that Anbang scandal allowed the chairman, the president of China, Z or Zai, I don't know if I say his name right, to seize control of that company. And as soon as he did, he started dumping the assets of that company, which means he's now selling the skyscrapers here in the United States for incredibly cheap prices. It's cheap dumping. And when you look at the conflict of interest that we have with our president of the United States being still that real estate investor, and we can see how his family is using the US Treasury to woo business people and woo potential buyers, now we have a conflict of interest in which a foreign government leader is able to bribe a United States president in plain sight. We can look at who Ivanka is. Ivanka is the VP Executive of Acquisition and Development of Trump Organization. She is the global real estate negotiator. Because she falls under this fashion designer label, she can hide in that stereotype. But what she is doing is using the US Treasury in order to woo potential business owners and have these deals. Going back to Kushner, Kushner is a real estate investor who has zero foreign policy experience. So what is he doing making all these deals in Middle East and across the world? What is happening? We can look and see where his family came from, and they're from Poland. Now we start seeing a very interesting play going on where things are happening that's benefiting other countries at the expense of the United States of America. And if we backtrack into 2013, where we have an alliance of Russia and China who have decided that they want their old world power back, and the people that stand in the way is the United States of America, now we have an even bigger picture where we have a boy with family ties in Poland. We have a president with conflict of interest in real estate. We have a Chinese president who is dumping cheap luxury skyscrapers in the United States, in Japan, in Canada. We also have his global investment scam, the China President Xi, global investment scam of Belt Road Initiative, also called Silk Road, where he has gone in and wooed the global leaders of various nations in order to get them to fall in line with this plan, promising them all kinds of things about political glory. I have a job. Thank you. I have a job of a startup corporation, and a startup corporation is the very thing that brings down corporate monarchies. So I have a job. And in fact, I had a job in 2015 working for America's oldest and rarest apparel factory that was defrauded by fraudulent investors so a corrupt city could build condos. So if you have a problem with a strong, smart woman, that is your problem. And you better get used to it, because there is a women revolution going on. Women are tired of the crap. And where the women have been doing a lot of the work in the companies and in all the different areas, we are starting to rise up and talk back. So if you have a problem with that, you better get used to it, because I'm not alone in this. I'm not living in my car, you dumbass. Anyways, don't mess with an Aries. It's not good for your health. Anyways, so here we go. And that was an example of what one of those cyber trolls are. Now, cyber troll, you kind of have to feel sorry for them, because they are the exploited workers who's working under a factory regime. However, I think a lot of those have already decided that Chairman Z is going to betray them with his moral financial law system. So they're already working right now, tweeting what they know about China and Anbang and BRI and everything that they can in order to keep Z from gaining control of the technocracy and global economy, because nobody wants to be under a communist regime. I'm thinking you're probably with one of those Trump students or one of the political reality stars, the 1%, who are engaging in propaganda that, you have no idea what you're doing. And you are going to find out that there is a propaganda side effect where the audience backlash is really going to cause all your little clubs and all your little organizations and all the little networks who are bought with coach money, all the little coach strings are going to come forward, and then you're going to be screwed. So you might as well just start working with the FBI, start confessing your sins, making amends now, because a rule of law comeback tour is coming. So going back to shadow wolves, so that's your pattern. And once you start realizing what these patterns are, once you start seeing these patterns, and once you start ignoring the trolls, when dealing with trolls, never give them emotional satisfaction unless you can control it, unless you can use it. You understand what it is, you understand what that manipulation trick was. For example, that little comment, it was just bullying. It was just outright bullying. Sometimes they like to use love bombing and devaluation, where they build you up and then they do a comment and it's just insulting, and so it's build up and then cut you down. But that website that I always share with the 20 divisionary tricks, that gives them all to you. And once you know what those are, you will no longer doubt your skills. You'll no longer doubt anything that you can do, because you are incredible. You are the American heroes. So once you realize what you've got and that you are trained to find all fraud, you are free to just find those money trails, because the thing is with the fraudulent investors and the fraudulent, especially real estate investors, and even the foreign global investors who are engaging in all this, is that they're very bad at hiding money trails. They hide them with emotional distraction. So once you ignore all the emotional distraction, once you know what the manipulation tricks are, you can easily see all the money trails that are going to show up suddenly as though it's magic. And then we see a completely different world. We start to see where corruption no longer gets to have its place, can no longer reign. We get to see a place where cheaters and crooks and liars they actually get to see justice, at the top. They get to see the consequences of their actions. And you have the entire world helping you, because we are all connected on Twitter and all these global social media resources, where we can engage in James Madison's solution for removing factions from government, in that we extend the sphere of knowledge. And on Twitter, it's just a matter of tweeting what you know, modern day version of it. So where it looks like, the whole world might be at a stance where we're going to be conquered and controlled, we're actually at a very good point where all the things that were happening in the past are coming to a head. And if trend cycles are reliable, once everybody starts doing it, that trend is on its way out the door. So this trend of the political reality star, the spoiled brat, the people who are pretending to be government experts and just have no idea what in the world they're talking about, but all they're doing is just playing these emotional games so that they can hide their money trails by pushing the blame off to somebody else. And it's like a magician's trick. Look over there, look over there, look over there. I'll get you to look over there, and then you won't see what I'm doing. These are just manipulation tricks. And once you know what they are, you stop falling for where they want you to look, and you start looking at the people doing the pointing. And then you're going to see that, everything is right there for you. So again, as I said before, the Senate trial rules are illegal. You cannot witness tamper using a voting process. It's obstruction of congressional procedure. That's what impeachment is. The people who think that they can just do razzle dazzle and illusion tricks are going to find out that that doesn't work, because America is not reality TV stars. That was just a stereotype. And yes, those who had planned for that did get those people. But America is full of a lot of smart people, a lot of college educated people, a lot of people with their master's and their PhD. And you don't need a lot of those paying attention, because, like I said, right now, everything is being done by a bunch of morons who are using emotional distraction to cover up everything. And once you know what those are, they're fully exposed. So good luck, Shadow Wolves. I always have your back. I'm a huge fan. I love our American heroes, and also the heroes who just risk their lives for the people around the world. And just best of luck and good luck. And please stop taking your time, because we do have a psychopathic narcissist, POTUS, and to give you an idea, Hitler and Mao were border path narcissists, and they were bad enough. Whenever you've got somebody as a psychopath, that's even worse. So please don't delay anymore. You've got everything you need. You can use a tax evasion investigation. And in fact, the millennial students, their stress receptors were burned out from the ages of 3rd grade to 12th grade with the high stake testing system, which means they can't handle even the little bit of stress. So if you do a little pressure there at those nonprofit, the illegal nonprofit groups, the ones that call themselves Turning Point USA and Young American Foundation, especially the Federalist, that Federalist tabloid rag, and even go after Breitbart, because Breitbart had the editor, Ben Shapiro, who's the son of a Hollywood producer and he has Russian family ties. And Breitbart's also connected to Steve Miller, who I don't even know who this guy is. He just kind of showed up, rose to power, and started repeating the same Nazi scam from Germany 1934, just targeting Muslims instead of Jews. And then Shapiro going in and using the U.S. court systems to claim a false claim of discrimination so that he can get Christians and Jews thinking that their religion is under attack. Go after them because they're the weakest link. But first, you have to go after the IRS attorney, Michele Bachmann, who defrauded the USA 18 USC 371 in order to get an IRS agent kicked out. That's your link. You start there, you can just kind of put down, this whole pyramid scheme was just going to crumble to the ground. So anyways, good luck. That's everything that you need. Hopefully, if everything else should just be connected to each other. Money can only travel from hand to hand. It can't do anything else. So whenever you have the names and you have the actions, then it's just a matter of connecting the webs together. And you're eventually going to find one hand is connected to another, to another, to another, to another. So ignoring the emotional distraction, understanding how psychological manipulation tricks work allows you to find those money threads that will connect you to the whole entire money web.